3, 4. La, 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 la.
The diasporic perspective. The idea of a distinct entity called Chinese diaspora is continually. In early 20th century, the word Hokkien is mean overseas immigrant. They should remain loyal to the mainland. But nowadays, the Chinese diasporic perspective is also encouraged suspicious by non-Chinese that the Chinese were disloyal, inassembled, and alien. Most overseas Chinese came from the southeast coast of China. They were not unique, but in developing of migration as economic strategy throughout history, many Chinese has moved to Eastern Asia. The northern part Chinese people migrate to Serbia, Korea, Japan, South Africa, and the Yunnan Chinese moved back and forth to the border with Burma. And also in 19th century, Cantonese speaking is come from the Pearl River Delta area near the Guangzhou. Cantonese include many sub-dialects, include Si is a dialect. Spoken ways of Delta, which established in 1842 to Hong Kong, became major part of region. Hakka speakers are scattered throughout Southeast China from Taiwan, Fujian to Guangxi. This is the origin and the modern network. The interaction between Chinese and the land of Pacific and Indian Ocean go back at least 2,000 years ago. In the reign of Yongle Emperor, in early Ming Dynasty, the fear of piracy and rebellion led to a ban for overseas trade. However, in 1567, the ban was lifted, and the license for the 50th Zhang trade a year for overseas trade is expanded rapidly in Hokkien. Hokkien were the most active participant in this trade, extending network from Japan throughout Southeast Asia. From northern Fujian and Zhejiang were also active in Japan. Chinese practiced trade through extended family network. Many ship captains and overseas agents were relative, servant, and adopted son of the China-based merchant. The Dutch activity stagnated after the 1680. The Chinese Zhang trade expanded and dominated the regional trade until the early 19th century.
So I'm gonna talking about rebel migration in the 19th century. The early 19th century expansion of British influence in Southeast Asia began with the Zhang trade. Except for coastal square-rigged schooner had largely replaced Chinese Zhang by 1840s. Then Chinese migration increased because some countries provided the service such as free trade zone and migrant services, which drew a large number of Chinese. So around the North China coast, trade had continued to expand and contract with the monsoon wind, congregating with traders from all over the world. By the early 17th century, while European rulers were relying on Chinese to build their city and provide supply and services, more major ports throughout Southeast Asia have been built. If you ask them where they practice the trade, they will tell you that they were taught by their family network. Some merchants even established two households in China and abroad with wives and children, and became local officials and contractors, gaining privilege from local rulers such as royal commercial, monopoly, and others. For the regional network, that provide to collect tax for the status of local Chinese because they cannot rely on military power from the Chinese government. In the 1880s, the early traders who survived were Chinese and Dutch. European and American planters are the most well-known aspects from this trade, and major recruitment efforts in places such as Brazil and others. The Chinese were recruiting a large number of people to work in a variety of jobs which are focused on gold mine in California in order to repay creditors and family members in China. Many Chinese have the problem to fund their migration, but in some cases, they have flexible repayment and are free to find work, while in others, they are sensitive to finding new opportunity on their own.
European expansion had a direct effect on the growth of Chinese labor migration in the middle of the 19th century, but Chinese migration as a whole really boomed in the 1880s. This boom first began with a similarly large boom in transatlantic migration from Europe. Protest migration were products of an expanding global industrial economy, and so Chinese were moving into the raw material production region rather than manufacturing areas, and general migrated into trades and activities beyond direct European control. This boom also marked a period of transformation in overseas Chinese communities. Rural migrant enterprise centered on local strongmen and the control of labor give way to the network of small fleets and partnerships. Chinese agriculture and mining were increasingly marginalized by more highly capitalized European mines and plantations, and Chinese who remained in this occupation did so in small partnership, working marginal rents in the Americas and Australia. This transition was facilitated by labor movement that successfully excluded Chinese from labor occupations. In Southeast Asia, this was facilitated by the rise and fall of grass revenue farm in the second half of the 19th century. As a part of this network came native banks and occupational association at the turn of the century, taxing on power structures centered on simple and small brotherhoods. These organizations have often been described as evidence of traditional Chinese attachment to home and family, but they were actually modern organizations of that emerged as a way to channel the essential flow of migrants in the expansion world economy. Political movement promoting nationalism and identification with a Chinese nation-state that transcended particularistic loyalty came close on the heels of the rejection of Chinese migration. Since as late the 1860s, Chinese overseas had petitioned Chinese officials to protect them against mistreatment and abuse in foreign lands. Many officials grew convinced that the honor of Chinese entailed the protection of overseas subjects. For the Bao Honghui Protect the Emperor Association was established in 1899. They promote a constitutional democracy under a belief that the restoration of the emperor powers over corrupt court officials would help promote this agenda, but now transformed into the conservative Xiang Hengdang Constitutional Party and more revolution Kuomintang Nationalist Party continue to support the overseas school and newspaper, and the ideology of Chinese nationalism grew increasingly adjusted.
So, next is rise of localized ethnicity. During the World War II, China gradually slowed to a halt and transitional network, giving rise to anti-immigrant legislation in many Southeast Asian destinations. Chinese women, like other migrant groups, migrate to levels that nearly equal to other migration and began to settle in one location or another. But after the war, any Chinese returned to China to look after their family and property due to the massive corruption and communist victory, by which they made the choice to relocate family to abroad. In the 1950s, a large number of refugees fled China via Hong Kong to other countries such as Europe and America. Moreover, during World War II, some Chinese businesses were restricting their operation. During that time, a few wealthy businessmen maintained transnational network, but some Southeast Asian countries were increasingly identified as poverty and exploitative businessmen. Even in places like Malaysia, this caused a slew of issues, including a ban on the use of Chinese language, pattern of ethnic construction, especially in the Americas and Australia, where higher proportions of Chinese became professionals, but they also have some issues due to racism, but they also promote good things to other countries too.
Globalization and new Chinese Diaspora. According to the immigration policy in America and in Australia in the 1960s, and the economic reform on mainland China in 1978, the number of new Chinese migrants were increasing and they were more recognizable with the liberalization, which most of them are students and professionals. The popular destinations were Canada and Australia because they had trustable immigration policy for those who came to work. Consequently, between 1982 to 1994, around 90,000 of Chinese became migrants in the destination each year. Even this number is not as much as the migration in World War II. It is also the significant amount because it is not yet include temporary student, illegal migration, or the migrants who end up in other countries. In fact, the Chinese migration have been a thing even before World War II, such as salesmen, seamen, and other related in trading business. This is one of the factors that increase new flow of migration because they know all that there is a Chinese community that is already located. For example, the early immigrants often supersede the basic thousands of new migrants who just came to Europe, similarly to the seamen from Fossil that already settled in New York, who also welcome to the new migrants as well. At the time, the migration happened all around the world. For example, in North Burma, Siberia, Korea, and Chinese born in another country also became migrants to other industrial countries such as Japan, France, and the US. This led to new terms like astronaut and parachute kid, which mainly refer to Hong Kong migration. The term defines the isolation, displacement of families that work in business and let the kid raised by the other sibling by themselves. Lately, and the risk of Chinese business become global because of their work ethic and how they were well placed to take advantage of globalization. Diaspora locality and multiplicity. Nowadays, it become more complicated to discuss about Chinese diaspora as everything is divided by different of class, nationality, education, and generation. Even Taiwan is distant themselves from other regions and ratio. There is still a distinction and term to refer to Chinese diaspora. This formulation depends on idea of culture rather than nationality or homeland. And yet other classification, Chinese still has tied to their family and has been tied to region by using same family name to identify them. And when it comes to cultural and economic network, the bond are inseparable. However, not in terms of confunction value. The bond have been strengthened in world of business around the globe that even Thai and Filipino may encourage their children to learn Mandarin and support them to participate in Chinese cultural festival. Also, Singaporeans will travel from time to time to China in order to socialize and corroborate business deals. However, not all Chinese would take part in such diasporic activity as it can be often to the new wave of immigrants who would not like to claim themselves to Chinese mainland. For example, Taiwan or Singaporean can feel different while visiting China which relate to exploitation. In conclusion, the diasporic activity cannot be disregarded even if they share some common culture.